most of you don't know, but I live in a hotel. I mean, their kids are getting picked up with school buses from there. They're getting mail there. It's their home.
I ain't gonna lie, this right here is crazy. But it do be like that sometimes. Looking at today's economy, I believe it. Share and save this video, especially if you're struggling to find a place to live, because the housing market is straight disrespectful. Y'all, the housing market is wild right now. Buying a home, out of reach from home. Renting, just as bad. People are leaving overpriced apartments behind and moving into extended stay hotels. Now, why is that? Average rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in Atlanta is about $2,400. But extended stay is around $1,200. That math is math. But the situation is wild. Some folks are even out here raising whole families in these hotel rooms. School buses picking kids up, mail getting delivered. It's not just a vacation spot, it's home now. And before you even try to make this political, this actually has nothing to even do with immigrants either. These are naturalized citizens in these hotels trying to hack their living arrangement. And peep this. Georgia courts even ruled that these residents can't even just get kicked out anymore. In fact, they need to go through the full eviction process just like renters. Now don't get it twisted though. Setups are ranging from decent to please get me out of here. Some reports show rooms with full fridges and stovetops, but also one smelling like straight up sewage. And hotels are even starting to combat them now with random price hikes. Some are even paying up to $2,800 a month for these rooms, making the original $2,400 apartment look like a steal if you ask me. It's a really sad reality when folks are stuck between overpriced apartments, $700 a week stays in hotels, or literally sleeping in their car. This is why I'm always putting out content on ways to boost your income, to not just stay afloat, but to actually coast on this wave. Comment income below if you want to see those tips. Share and say this video and let me know your thoughts. Have you or someone you know been through this? Get to it in the comments.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. So today's video is a title that I'm going to be calling Homeless in Hotels. Okay. Now imagine the scenario: you're homeless, but instead of sleeping on the streets or in a shelter, you're living in a hotel room. On the surface, this can sound quite glamorous: clean sheets, private bathroom, a door that locks. But I think there's a hidden truth, which is hotel living for the homeless isn't a solution, it's a stopgap. Now, behind hotel doors is a world of uncertainty, instability, and there's a hidden cost that this can trap families in limbo. So, in today's video, I want to go through what it can look like to live in hotels, from those where it's a situation due to homelessness. There were some other reasons and rationale I came across, but I think it's also important to talk about the emotional toll, the potential financial burden that this can cost, both here in the UK and abroad in places like the United States or somewhere like Canada. Okay. I had to mute the clip for copyright reasons, but this user basically says that 6 months ago they became homeless and they had to pack up everything into storage, and with the help of friends, they eventually ended up having to move, and she moved with her young child to live in a hotel. And they had been living in an apartment, but she could no longer afford to make rent on that. She seems to have kept up the grind, and she has continued to eventually work her way out of that situation and now had her own apartment at the end of this story. So now, a lot of times I've been wondering why hotels, what leads to that if it's a situation of homelessness. And I came across the fact that local governments and charities will sometimes, in different countries, different cities, place homeless individuals and their families in hotels, sometimes when shelters are full, unsafe, or unsuitable for children. For many, it's the only option available, and so compared to sleeping rough on a park bench or staying in a shelter where safety is a concern, hotels will provide something vital: privacy, a locked door, and even something like Wi-Fi so you can make plans and, in the case of this content creator, actually move yourself out of struggle. Now, here's the problem though: hotels were never meant to be permanent housing. It's a band-aid solution to a much bigger wound, and what often looks like a lifeline can become a cycle of insecurity. Now, before I play this content creator's video for you, I want to break down what living in a hotel can actually mean, what some of the potential challenges could be. So it's meant to be temporary by nature. So families often are told they can stay for a week, maybe a month, before being moved somewhere else. So often imagine the difficulty and trauma of your kids asking, do we have to move again? And you not knowing the answer to that. There can often sometimes be a lack of facilities. Now, this is not always the case, but sometimes there's no real kitchen. Maybe it's just a tiny mini fridge, a microwave if you're in a better facility. And that can sometimes mean families are spending more money on fast food and takeaway, which is neither sustainable nor healthy, especially for growing children. The other thing is sometimes hotels, because they're for short-term guests, they're not located in communities, and that might lead to things like isolation. There's no neighborhoods, no friendship or sense of belonging. And the final thing to highlight is there is the risk of mental health impact, because for some people, being housed but not in a home can take a toll. And a lot of the statistics when I looked online were showing that parents will often report feelings of guilt and shame, and that statistics will show kids will struggle with schoolwork or making friends because they don't often know how long they'll be in one place. So yes, while there's a roof over your head, this can lead to that cycle of insecurity because it comes with constant uncertainty, almost like a ticking clock. So now we're going to hear from this content creator who seems to view it in a much, much more positive light. And he's going to take you through the reasons that he sees living in a hotel to be so positive. Do let me know in the comments if you agree with his take.
Walls, look, you see this? This is a hotel. It's not even that big. We live in a hotel. We just got fresh linen. Do you get that at an apartment? No, you don't. We save money too by living here longer. Okay? And we can leave whenever we want. This is a hotel. Look at this. This is not an apartment. We live in a hotel. That's crazy. That's like crazy. I like it. I never thought that I would want to live in a hotel. But I do, and I like it. Look at these walls. You see these walls? Hotel. You see this? Would you live in a hotel? I'm living in a hotel or an apartment because I don't have to pay nothing. I don't have to pay utilities. They give me fresh linen, god damn it. I don't get that. I don't have to worry about nothing. Apartments, you gotta worry about all this stuff.
So I'm pleased that this gentleman found it to be a positive experience, the gentleman in the clip we've just watched. However, let's get into some of the financial breakdowns that I came across when I went researching on the internet. For the United States, it says the average budget hotel can cost anywhere from $60 to $120 per night, depending on the state. So that works out to be about $1,800 to $3,600 a month. Now, if you compare that to the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in the US, this is supposedly from stats I saw online nationwide about $1,500. And apparently in some smaller US cities, you can rent for even less, around $900 to $1,000. So it stands to reason that hotel living can easily cost double what renting would, yet many families in crisis don't have that credit, deposit, or landlord references that they need to secure a lease. So that is a barrier to families in difficult situations renting, and this could be another factor why hotel living is seen as the more positive or easier to achieve option. The other thing to go over is in the UK, we have councils, and the councils will often pay for emergency accommodation in budget hotels or B&Bs, bed and breakfast. So costs in the UK can range from £60 to £100. From £60 to £120 a night, depending on your location. So that itself works out to be about $1,800 to $3,600 a month. Now, the average one-bed flat to rent in the UK is between £1,200 nationwide, but in London, that's closer to £1,800. So again, hotel accommodation is more expensive than renting, but the irony is shocking. Governments and councils in the UK are spending more to keep people homeless in hotels than it would cost to house them permanently. But because hotels don't require long-term commitments or paperwork, they often become a very quick fix option, okay?
Is it better to stay in a hotel than to rent in Toronto? Don Valley Hotel in Toronto offers month-long stays for just $1,900 a month, providing fully furnished rooms with amenities like parking, pool access, and Wi-Fi. Initially, in response to housing challenges during the pandemic, the program has expanded to over 80 rooms, offering a condo hotel lifestyle for those seeking short-term housing solutions. Would you consider this option? Comment below.
Is it cheaper to live in a hotel full-time versus renting an apartment? Let's find out. This hotel offers a monthly rate of $2,500. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in the US is $1,500 per month. But hotels typically include amenities like Wi-Fi, water, electric, housekeeping, gym access, and even complimentary breakfast. Those things could easily amount to an additional $1,000 per month in an apartment. So what do you think? Is it worth living in a hotel versus an apartment? Comment below.
Good evening. Checking out of the housing market and checking in to hotel living.
Just when you thought Toronto's real estate reality couldn't get any more surreal, taking alternative accommodation to a whole new level. CTV's Allison Hurst is live with her top story. Allison.
This type of living may not be for everyone, but for a certain type of renter or on a temporary basis, it is certainly several $100s cheaper per month, and everything is included. The room is simple, with a bed, bathroom, microwave, and fridge. There's no kitchen, but it costs hundreds of dollars less to rent each month than the average one-bedroom in Toronto.
There is no credit checks. There is no nothing. You come in, you pay today, you pay a $500 deposit.
The price, $2,000 a month, compared to the average monthly rate for a one-bedroom in Toronto, which was $2,600 in November.
You've got gym membership included. You've got indoor-outdoor pool included. You've got Wi-Fi included. Your cable's included. Your parking is included. You can have room service. You get housekeeping once per week.
The Toronto Don Valley Hotel and Suites General Manager Kevin Porter says roughly 60 of his 350 rooms have been set aside for this deal. He says he started it during the pandemic, and some residents have been living here for years.
Right now, I've got about 18 of those occupied.
Meaning there are still rooms available at a time when finding housing can be a challenge.
Given the cost of renting in this city, for a certain segment of the population, it'll make a whole lot of sense.
This tourism and hospitality professor says there's some risk to it.
You're not signing leases in the same way. But it's also then a risk for the hotel because, once again, chances are you're not doing the same vetting a landlord.
How does it compare to renting? Money-wise, it definitely ranges. So I've seen some places that are built for more long-term, and those are a little bit more discounted. So you're looking at anywhere between $1,200 to $1,500 a month. So, but again, think about the fact that it actually includes like electricity, it includes water, things like that. Again, parking may not be the best. You're in a little small, like efficiency type thing, but it is what it is. For the type of hotels that I stay in, that the company puts us into, are bigger suites with like Hilton or Marriott style. Those can range anywhere from like $75 a night, so over $2,000 a month, to $250 a night. Thank goodness we don't pay for that. But it really depends, and I know a lot of people may not be able to afford that. So
next, I want to play some clips where living in a hotel is very much a choice, and it's a choice the individuals in the upcoming clips you're going to see have made for a variety of reasons, nothing to do with homelessness in the classic sense, okay?
I live in hotels 365 days a year, and here's how much it costs. And these are luxury 5-star hotels. If you call up a hotel and tell them that you're going to have a long-term stay for more than 30 days, they will almost always give you a deal. The price ends up being the same that it would be if you were renting a normal apartment. The best hotels usually end up being around $3,000 per month, and that's $100 a night. These are actual apartments with a bedroom, a kitchen, a living room, all of your laundry services included. I literally travel and all of my stuff fits into just one suitcase. I lived in a 2-bed Marriott apartment in Dubai Marina, and that was only $3,500 a month. They even cleaned my room every single day. There's no power bill, no water bill, no Wi-Fi bill, everything's included, even a gym membership. It's a great way to see the world and live a life of freedom.
We recently moved from California to Pennsylvania and settled in a hotel temporarily until we find a new house. Why a hotel and not an Airbnb? Well, the area we're in does not have any Airbnbs, and the ones that we found are too far from my husband's job. And honestly, the price would be about the same. Yes, we decided not to rent, not even for a few months, but to buy a new house right away. It was kind of a crazy idea, especially after we realized how low inventory was. Well, in our price range at least. But we were still positive that we'd find something soon. Our hotel room is actually kind of nice. It's more of an apartment than a room. It has 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a little kitchen. The hotel had to be pet friendly since we have 2 cats. They seem to like it here. The kitchen has all the basic stuff to cook, but we had to get a couple of things. I got tired of boiling water for coffee every single morning. So a couple weeks later, we got a teapot. God, it is so convenient. Definitely felt like a luxury at that moment. The wild thing for me was the laundry. I used to live in an apartment complex where we had laundry room in the hallway, but it was a long time ago. I forgot how annoying it is to not have your own washer and dryer, but at least doing laundry in the hotel is somewhat entertaining for my 4-year-old. I was so excited about not having to make breakfast since breakfast is free in our hotel, but literally a week in, I couldn't eat it anymore. It's just the same eggs, same stuff every day. I just can't. There's a tiny gym and a pool here as well, which is nice, because Vivian loves swimming and I love working out. It looks like we'll have to spend Halloween and Thanksgiving at the hotel.
But the best way I can explain it is that I basically just decided I did not want to spend rent anymore. I just want to be free. I don't want to own anything, but I didn't want to pay as much rent as I was paying previously. So I decided to get rid of my apartment, put my items in storage, sell everything else, and I stay in hotels. I have a budget of $1,500 a month that I spend on hotels. That's $1,500. I have not passed that yet. I usually stick around 1,100, and I stay in hotels. And when I get a hotel, I usually do it for 2 or 3 nights at a time. I use points, I use credit card. I don't really have credit cards like that, so don't think that I'm saying anybody can get a credit card, because I am not that anybody myself, but I do use them to the best that I can, and I use points. So I stay 3 nights at a time, usually 2 or 3 nights. And I have an amazing family and friend support system who are okay with me staying a night or 2 with them when I can't find a hotel with a decent rate. I definitely try to stay around the 120 mark as a night for hotels. I usually do a really good job of choosing that. So when I can't find something of that rate, I will stay with a family. We'll stay with family or friends. But I also, like I said, I'm single, no kids. My kid is grown, actually, and I get to go and visit them a lot more. I get to spend more time with them. I work for myself, so I create my own schedule, work when I want to, and so that helps.
Here's how much I spend in a day living in a hotel. For context, I live a rent-free life by house sitting, and sometimes before the house sit, I like to stay at hotels a few days earlier. So today for breakfast, this was free. I got lemon ricotta breakfast and an omelet. This is normally $50, but with status it was $0. Decided to go to the hotel gym instead of going to Barry, so this was also $0. To be quite honest, I haven't worked out in a while, so this was pretty glad that there was no one here, and I just got a good 1 hour workout in. Took some meetings during the day in their hotel lobby with their nice Wi-Fi, and then did some happy hour wine.
And so I wanted to try and present an equally balanced view by showcasing the last 4 clips where we've seen content creators sharing that it's very much a choice. I mean, you can hear it in the language they're using, freedom. This particular content creator playing in the background, she talked about travel, experiencing the world. I mean, she's choosing to spend $3,000 a month to $3,500 a month in hotels in different parts of the world. It's clearly part of her creativity here, expression. Absolutely nothing to do with homelessness. And I think we can gather that when it's a choice, the vibe is different, okay? I mean, we've seen someone who say it was a personal decision. She didn't want to own any property. She didn't want to feel attached. She just wanted to have some sort of get up and go. She can just move, essentially be a nomad. And then we've seen someone who stays in hotels in between house sitting. And that's how she, quote unquote, lives rent-free in life. And so it's very apparent that a choice made to stay in a hotel when you're not having to, when it's not a result of struggle or homelessness, is definitely different vibes. Hotels naturally are convenient. That's why people stay there for holidays. But we can see with these 4 recent last videos from these content creators, they look like they're going to be able to get an apartment if they want to, but they have chosen not to for the conveniences a hotel offers them. This is not the same situation as a lot of people who wind up in hotels because of homelessness, okay? So let's have a think. If hotel living can be costly, which we've seen, why is it still done? And it is a problem with the system, okay? So councils, governments, and charities need quick solutions when people become homeless overnight sometimes, and hotels do offer that. But instead of redirecting government funds into permanent housing, the cycle continues, and families can often end up trapped in temporary accommodation that can last months or even years. So in my opinion, the money spent on hotels by governments and agencies could be better invested in building affordable housing, expanding rent deposit assistance schemes, creating transitional housing programs with real kitchens and community support to help people get back on their feet. Because homelessness isn't just about not having a roof, it's about not having security, stability, or dignity. And hotels, while they are better than being on the streets, can never provide that in the long term, in my opinion. Let me know in the comments if you agree, what your thoughts are. If you disagree, let me know in the comments why you disagree. If you've enjoyed the content, give it a thumbs up. If you've enjoyed the kind of videos I make on the channel, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you all in the next videos. Bye!